Yes, I really do use a record label to make an envelope. And these really are mushroom bags from Woolies made into envelopes. In this video, I'm going to show you how I make 5 different envelopes using the same template. For this make, you can use anything that's pre-folded, a record sleeve, book pages, paper bags, and I will show you how to fussy cut a window like this using any pages. It doesn't have to be an Edith Holden book page. I'm going to show you how to cut the book page out using my template so you don't destroy the graphics that are on the back of the second page here. And then I'm going to show you how to cut it out when it doesn't matter about your paper or your book pages and you just want to cut it out without being precious. If you want to learn how to take your Edith Holden book apart correctly, I have put the link to this video in the description below. I'll show you how to remove the pages so you keep the fold intact. You do not need to tear the pages out one by one when you do it this way. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about the templates. I've got 2 templates here. One is transparent, perfectly clear. The other is a milky white. The milky white one, you can see most of your images underneath. The clear one, you can see all of it. So if you haven't got very good eyesight, you would pick this transparent one. The envelope comes with a window template, so you don't have to guess what size window you want. So the first envelope I'm going to make today is using an Edith Holden page, and we're going to fussy cut out the window. I've designed this template so that you could mostly use it on a fold line. Now I know most of you will struggle with this, making a decision on which page to cut out because you like what's on the front and the back. Look at this. There is no way I'm going to ruin that page and put these beautiful butterflies on the inside of my envelope. So what I do, especially if I'm using Edith Holden book pages, I'll go through all of the pages until I find one like this. It's got a graphic on the front and just text on the back. I put my template on the front and I can see what it's going to look like when I cut it out. There's no guessing. So I know my leaves are going to look beautiful on the front of this envelope. I can see that I can save this precious paper and the text is going to land on the inside of my envelope. I'm sorry, I went ahead and I started tracing this out on the fold line. I forgot. I want you to have your page laid out so you can see the front and the back and trace out the whole lot and continue tracing around the back. If you were not going to fussy cut this window, you would just trace around the window in the oblong shape. Now, I'm going to show you how to fussy cut the window by drawing around part of the edges and then fussy cutting around the leaves. This is a beautiful technique, and if you're a beginner at fussy cutting, I suggest that you lightly pencil line your lines around like this. It's a good way for you to see what it's going to look like when you fussy cut it. Here I realised that I should have had my page open. So I just line it up and I'll go ahead now and trace around the back of my envelope. That's the good thing about using templates. You know, you can just line them up and keep working. So now I'm going to cut it out, but I'm also going to cut it out so that I don't ruin any of the leftover paper. So I stop at the corner here and I've got this big piece left over. I'll do the same on the opposite side here. Just here, I stop at the corner and then I start cutting around the top of the envelope. So rub out your pencil lines, and I've got a tip for you. I use a wide soft paintbrush to wipe away any of my messes because my hand always damages my paper. And I forgot to cut my scoop out here. Now I'm going to fussy cut the window. When you're fussy cutting on the inside of something like this, it's totally different to cutting a random bird, you know, just straight off a page, because you're cutting in the middle of somewhere. So I'm going to just use this finger blade here. I found this in my mum's things. I'm not sure what it's called. I'll have a look, and if I can find one, I'll link it in the description below. So I'm just going to cut around following my pencil lines here as a guide. And always take your time when you're doing this so that you don't overcut. Another tip is to turn your work around and cut from the opposite way when you get to the corners. So stop there, turn it around, and then come back so that you don't overcut your corners and everything just lifts out. It just looks so much better when you do this. You'll be happy if you get into this habit. So that's the window cut out. Pick which type of window that you're going to use. There's also a template for you to be able to trace around to cut out your own acetate window. I'm going to recycle an envelope to do this. It's my favourite way of making windows for my envelopes. This one here is a lovely milky type of glassine paper, and this one is clear. The milky glassine style works perfectly with the Edith Holden page. I double check that it fits, and I use the smallest amount of glue. I go around the fussy cut areas directly on my envelope, very thin lines. Then I do the corners on the window itself, because I don't want the corners to lift when I put something inside the envelope. And I'm just going to put that in place. You haven't got a lot of room to move here, so just line it up, top and bottom. Make sure it's not showing on the right side of your envelope. And it's optional to distress ink. I use the vintage photo colour mostly. It works really well with the Edith Holden page. Now, it's up to you whether or not you put these side flaps over the top of the back or underneath. If you're putting them over the top, you'll need to trim a little bit of your sides off. So just trim a little bit off the sides on both the left and the right side of the back. Put a thin line of glue on your side flaps. Close the envelope up. I'm just putting my ruler here to show you that I'm leaving a very small gap between the top of the envelope and the fold line. I use my ruler and my scraper to get a nice sharp crease across here and fold that down. Add some more distress ink, and this envelope is finished, ready to embellish at the top or the bottom here. And I love these envelopes made up with the Edith Holden pages. I'll show you this one here. You don't have to fussy cut out your window. You can just cut your window out in the oblong shape. It looks just as good. And not only that, not all of the pages you will use is going to be suitable for fussy cutting. We're going to be making this envelope out of scrapbook paper, and it's pretty straightforward. This is just normal scrapbook paper. It's not cardstock. So just grab your template, work out where you want to have it on your scrapbook sheet, and just trace around it with a pencil. Once you've traced around it, just cut it out either using your craft knife or your scissors, and go around the edge with your distress ink. This time I'm putting distress ink on the inside of the window, just to let you know you can do this, and it looks pretty good. And I'm going to use a recycled envelope for the window, and this one is just the clear window. Once I've glued the window in place, I'm then going to fold my side flaps in, and the back, I fold that up towards the top of the envelope. I'm also going to fold the back of my envelope over the top of my side flaps, just so that you can see the difference between the two. The only thing that you could do to make this work a bit better is just cut off a little bit of the bottom on an angle of these side flaps here. And that just helps the bottom to fold up a bit better. So glue your side flaps down, same as we did before, just adding a bit of glue to the flaps themselves. Fold the back piece up and glue that closed. Add some more distress ink, and all you've got to do now is fold the flap down over the top. I'm just doing this by hand to show you don't always have to use the ruler method. You can fold it by hand, especially if you're using scrapbook paper. It's pretty easy to do. So here's the difference between an acetate window and a recycled envelope window. They both look pretty good, but I think the recycled envelope window has a really good look to it. Now this one here, we're going to use a record cover, and it looks so good in your journal. I just want to explain why I'm doing my demo with a smaller template than you'll get in the mail. All it is that I've got my full-size template and I've cut it off here. I recommend that you don't cut yours off, leave it full. These slits in the bottom and the sides are so you can use this template on an unusual shape like this record sleeve here or a paper bag. So when you see the shorter template, just know it's exactly the same as your full template, only I've just cut it off. So leave yours intact, okay? So it's just I think these are 45s. They've got the bottom sealed and both sides. So again, I put the bottom of my template on the bottom of the record sleeve, and I'm pretty much only using the flap of the template. I'm not cutting out a window here because the circle here is going to be my window. So now I've only got to cut around the top of my envelope flap, and I'm cutting through both pieces together, front and back. Now I'm just going to cut a tiny little slither off the side here, just so I can open up the envelope a small amount. So I'm just sort of splitting it a little bit, about 1/4 of an inch at the top here, about 1/2 centimetre. And this is so that I can fold it down. So I'm going to fold over. So this now is going to form the flap of my envelope. The front, if you're looking at the front of your envelope, just cut off that front piece that you folded over. Now the back piece becomes your envelope flap. But we're going to bring back the piece we cut off, and we're going to use it to cover the inside of the envelope. This is optional. You don't have to cover it. You can just put some distress ink on it if you like and just leave it as it is. But I'm going to glue my leftover piece back on. Again, I'm not overusing the glue. I keep away from the edge and I just use a little bit. So just line it up and pop it back down. Trim any of the overhang off if you need to. I missed a bit of glue on the edge here, so I'm just going to fix that up. And if it interferes with your fold, just trim it off. Right, now this is the front of my envelope, so I'm just going to fold that down, and that's it. Now all that's left to do is put whatever I want in the pocket. I'm just resizing a journal card, and it's just a very unique envelope. It's so different and it looks great. You can pop things in the window here. This is just a lovely old vintage card. Doesn't matter whether you put them in the front and the back. You can load it up with whatever you like, and you don't even have to open the flap. One of my favorite things to do is using record label sleeves. I absolutely love them. So now we're going to make an envelope out of a paper bag. Now I picked up these paper bags from Woolies in the fruit and veg department. I'm pretty sure they made these bags knowing junk journalists come shopping at their supermarket. We're going to start off by putting the paper bag down on my table, and I'm going to use the grid here to center the bag. I'm also going to use the grid to center my envelope template. I'll put the template on the bottom of the bag and trace around the top of the flap. Then I cut that out through all layers of the bag. I'm going to keep this because I can use it in a minute. This could be ready. You could use this little bag just like this. You could put it in your journal and load it up right now. I'm just going to fold my bag over so the back is facing up and fold over my flap. Now I'm going to cut away the V line here of the gusset of the bag. So do that on both sides. So now they're cut off, I've got a nice square top on my bag. I'm going to turn it over again with the back facing me. And now instead of cutting this off, I'm going to use it so it's a stronger line at the back, and I'm going to fold it back to the inside. This envelope is so easy to make. You could call this finish. Now if you want to cover up the advertising on here, you can go ahead and embellish it however you like. So just go through your things and find whatever suits the colour of this paper bag the best. Doilies always work, no matter what. I've got one here that's torn, so I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm just going to put it over the edge of the back of the bag here. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm now going to turn the back of the bag into the front of my bag, on this one anyway. So I've got that in place, and I'm going to use one of Mum's jam labels, and I stick that just on an angle right over the top. Now a little envelope pocket like this is perfect for a recipe journal. And if you're not making a recipe journal, honestly, it would look good in any journal. So just grunge it up a bit with some distress ink, just so it all blends in. This is optional. So now I'm just going to glue my doily down to the bag. Now grab the offcut of the top part of the bag, and I'm going to put my template back on, center it again, and trace around the flap here. And then I'm going to cut it off square across the bottom, just so that I've got enough of the paper bag to cover the top flap. You don't need very much, just so that it just starts to go inside the bag. I'm cutting through the two layers, it just makes it a whole lot easier. Now the gusset is still in this bag, so when you open it up, you've got a bit of excess paper. So cut off the ends, and I leave a little bit of the fold there, just so that when it goes in, it's not a raw edge. But you can cut it off to have a raw edge. It really makes not a lot of difference. Now I've done my test fit, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this into place permanently. You'll find this template so versatile. You don't have to use it exactly the shape that it is. You can just use the top part. You can just use the window part if you want to just trace around the window to put on any envelope you like. Now I've gone ahead and I've glued the inside of my doily down as well. Now you can put some recipe cards in here, you can put a journal card in them, you can put whatever you like in these little pockets, and they're gonna look fantastic in your journal. So how easy were they to make? And paper bags from the supermarket. So good. This envelope is the ultimate junk. For envelope number 5, we're going to recycle an envelope and cover it with scraps, whether they be book pages or scrapbook papers. We start off by not using our normal skinny envelope. We're going to use a big wide one. Make sure your envelope is sealed at the bottom because we need the bottom fold intact. And then just trace around. You don't need to trace the window because we're going to use this window on the envelope. Then cut out the edge, and this fold line on the left side of your envelope, we're going to break that fold. So just cut off a slither here, which will break the fold. And cut around the top of your envelope. So now you can open up your envelope. Put your template back on and trace across the top to get that scoop shape. Also down the sides because you only need the flaps on the front. So you're going to cut the flaps off the back. So cut them right away. And finish cutting out the top scoop of the back of your envelope. And that's your envelope shape ready to cover. I'm going to go ahead now and distress the edges, and I distress ink this quite dark, and that is because I leave a little bit of a gap like this on the outside of the envelope. Now before I patchwork cover my envelope, I'm going to fold the flap over, and this is just so that I am aware of where this fold line is. Because it's so fragile, I just crease the paper and then crease the window with my finger. And I can work with that when I cover this envelope with all my papers. So I'm just going to go ahead now and just pick out all my scrap bits, work out where I want them, and I'm just going to glue them all over the top of my envelope. Once you finish covering all of your envelope, just put some glue on the flaps and close your envelope back up. I just fussy cut this little word T out because I want to start tying the front of this envelope together. I put a butterfly sticker on, and what that's done is it's united these three pieces of paper together, and I work out what sticker I want there, and I just lift that the corner of the T up a little bit because this colour of the sticker matches this pretty nicely, and this is looking pretty good. I know you all love these patchwork style envelopes because 135,000 views have been on its sister video. So go and check out that video if you want to see step by step more detail on how I cover these envelopes. Here's a recap. Envelope number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5, which is technically a variation of this video, how to make envelope pockets. The details on where you can get your templates are in the description below. You can choose between milky white, like I've used here today, or this clear version, and create something awesome today. Thanks for tuning in, and ciao for now.